Yes, it is. This is probably the biggest disconnect for small business owners.
Mhm.
They believe that, and I've heard you talk about how important an email list is, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Facebook could get pulled from us tomorrow. eBay, whatever it is that you're
Anything.
using, you don't
Yeah.
own it,
Yeah.
And they believe.
Hey, Toccara, welcome to Girl Take Note. How are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
Good. So excited to have this conversation. I think it's going to be really good and a lot of great advice on digital marketing and just getting the conversation around digital marketing. Because like I said before, I think it's something a lot of people you hear about, but a lot of people don't have really good tactics they can use or a really good definition of what it really is. Right.
Yes, exactly.
So before we share, kick things off, let's share a little bit about your journey from you launching your own e-com business to now becoming this digital marketing guru. And you launched your business back in 2007, right?
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
I started in the e-commerce space back in 2007, and I was raising my two babies
Yeah.
back then. And
Yes.
I think it's a story many fempreneurs can relate to.
Yep.
And I was also hustling on the side with a full-time job, making,
Mhm.
like six figures annually from my e-commerce business, and then still had another business on the side and still had two babies. And
Yeah.
it was a lot. And so the shift and transition happened when I couldn't get off a Christmas Eve
Mm.
for my children. And I had for years and years been of
Yeah.
service to this employer, and they couldn't give me that one day with my children. And that was the
Yeah.
day I made a 6-month plan to leave, because I didn't want to be at the mercy of someone else telling me what I could and couldn't do with my schedule. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to miss out on those most pivotal years in my children's lives. So I switched from having the e-commerce business to doing the marketing and growing the e-commerce businesses for others, which was really something I was very good at and my passion when it came to like growing businesses and digital marketing and seeing things in a different way. And so
Mhm.
that's when the agency started. And now I don't have to miss out on any Christmas Eves with my children.
Exactly. It's that freedom that you get.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're able to pivot into your own business and see it grow and be able to help other people and have more time for your family, for yourself. And there's such an interesting story because a lot of time I tell people some entrepreneurs leap into entrepreneurship is intentional and some is unintentional. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, you didn't seem like you intentionally was going to jump there right away, but it's like, okay, this thing happened and life comes first. Like family is first, 100%.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think for women especially, it's such a passion of mine, just having an income stream that you can rely on without having to
Yeah.
rely on someone else. It's so important for females.
Yeah. And so you successfully navigated the landscape to grow your e-com
Yes.
brand. In your opinion, tell me what was some of probably the biggest digital challenges or digital marketing strategies you see that was probably challenging from where you started to now?
Yeah. I mean, for me, a lot of the challenges that I think women who own businesses with inventory, there's a lot going on there outside of the marketing
Yeah.
where you're trying to finance inventory before you even sell it, returns, customer, all that stuff. But I think what I learned, the power of more than like a struggle, but more like a transition and shift in mindset, was when I first started
Mhm.
Facebook, only had 20 million users.
Yeah.
Shopify didn't exist. Like this was a totally
Yeah.
different
That's true.
world. Drop shipping, like that wasn't even a term back then.
Yes.
So I think the shift happened when I had a lot of people ask me, why am I not pounding the pavement and going door to door, boutique to boutique, because it was children's clothing, and trying to
Yeah.
sell the clothes one off to shops, when for me, the big eye opener was, but I can fall asleep and wake up to, hundreds of dollars of orders all around the world overnight and not have to waste my
Yeah.
time. Like my time is used so much more efficiently marketing online versus one-to-one. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that can't be effective, but that was a huge eye opener for me. So the struggles when I was first starting out was really learning a lot of it on my own, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to, wearing all the
Yeah.
hats and not knowing what to do. And I did at some point hire an agency to kind of help me build that, because I knew I didn't know enough to do it on my own. But I also learned the power of opening and shutting my digital doors with
Yeah.
things just like emails. Just an email alone could open the doors to my business and bring in thousands of dollars and then close it. So those were the kinds of things that I would say maybe not so much a struggle, but I had to learn, but I also learned how effective and powerful they could be.
You know, I want to talk about email because I feel like email is like you said, a powerful tool to use, but I still feel like a lot of people miss out because when we think about how influencer marketing and just influence online, a lot of them have a very strong presence. A lot of them don't actually have a way to connect with their audience outside of that platform because they don't look at email as something powerful or just strategies to get those emails. Tell me how important email is when it comes to digital marketing.
Yes, it is. This is probably the biggest disconnect for small business owners. Mm-hmm. They believe that, and I've heard you talk about how important email list is, and you're absolutely right. Facebook could get pulled from us tomorrow. eBay, whatever it is that you're using, you don't own it, you know? Yeah. And they believe, a lot of times small business owners believe that they will burden their email list, that they will annoy them, that they will be seen as spam. And I can tell you that you probably would have to be sending tenfold the amount of emails to have it feel that way for them. Every time we send more emails, and we're a Klaviyo Gold Master partner in our agency. So we've made like $1 billion for our client. Like we manage so much when it comes to email marketing, and we have clients that we're emailing every single day. Okay. So like you are far from sending too many emails when you're sending one a month. Let me tell you, like you could step that up. So I'm always a big fan of 8 minimum emails a month, 2 a week at the bare minimum. But it's that disconnect of you're thinking that you are going to annoy someone when it comes to email marketing, or you're not strategizing to build an email list. And this comes to someone who even owns a retail shop. Just because you own a retail shop doesn't mean that you can't be list building right there in your shop while people are coming in and getting a service, or while they're checking out, or even in a restaurant. Like there's so much that you can do to grow your email list. And I think also the disconnect could come from, do you want to join our newsletter? Like no one wants to join a newsletter. No one's ever wanted to do that. And but they do want value. They do want something in exchange, like a value in return. So I think just, again, it's like that mindset shift a little bit of how you can do this. There's no such thing as not being able to build an email list. It's just a matter of how you approach it and how can you offer value.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people struggle with, because even I did in the beginning struggle with, okay, so how do I do this? How do I build this email list? Because a lot of my podcast listeners are because of my email list, right? A lot of my downloads are. And so it's like, okay, so how do I build a strong list? And then I get into some more of the tactical things like, okay, I see a lot of people do like free offers. And so what do you think are some of the things that an entrepreneur can do to kind of get started with building that email list?
Yeah, I would say everything changes so fast in digital marketing, as you know, and we've grown email lists to like 350,000 subscribers. And I can tell you usually what works best now is to not offer something for free in terms of a giveaway. So anything that kind of has to do with a giveaway, that tends to be a very weak list. But if it is of value, meaning if I were to be selling my email agency services, I might want to give you a webinar based on, 29 top email marketing tips to increase your revenue in the next 30 days. And that is speaking to my ideal client. So when it comes down to different ways that someone can join your list, usually it has to do with a value. It usually has to do with a discount. And a lot of times a discount is in an e-commerce type of space where your brand can't offer value yet, meaning your brand name doesn't have enough value in it like a Louis Vuitton does, right? In that case, like Louis Vuitton, maybe they do one sale a year, like because they can't, because they're bad like that, right? But if you're just starting out, like you don't have enough brand authority to do that. So usually it's a discount. That's why we see a lot of these on e-commerce sites. If it's a service-based business, a lot of the times it has something to do with getting your ideal client to their desired goal. So solving a pain point or a problem for them so that they can see and start trusting that you are the expert, get the tools they need, the quick fix. And throughout that quote unquote funnel, that sales funnel, that journey, you can offer then to help them in however that looks for you, and start offering those discovery calls or those programs or those challenges, that type of thing. And that tends to be the most engaged audience ready to sell. But it's just like anything else, like meeting someone when you're dating. You can't just go from 0 to 60 and ask for that sale with high ticket items, like tends to be services. You really need to build that relationship and have what we call experiential email marketing. Make it a really fun experience for someone when they're getting your emails.
Yeah. And I think that's a part that a lot of people miss, because you see a lot of people online when it comes to digital marketing. A lot of people out there want to be gurus and experts and feel like they can tell you how to do it. You do it like this. It's so quick. It's so easy. I do it like this. You do it. You do it. You know what I mean? And people don't really talk about, okay, it does take time. You do need to build, so which is why I'm so glad you mentioned that, because even on my own journey, I know, like, listen, I need to build first before I can actually do certain things. I need to gain their trust, add value, like you said. And so the whole audience building thing, the whole gaining trust and adding value is like a first step. And I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of digital marketers that I see on social media don't talk about that. They just talk about, you can do this, you can do that, you can make sales, but they skip over the part where you need to gain their trust first. You need to add something of value.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to offer a high ticket thing to people.
Exactly. And this is a little bit of a different example, but I hope this resonates with someone who's a little bit fearful of this or thinking maybe the strategy doesn't work. We had a bikini brand client. So again, e-commerce, and we had a blog and an email based on their models, how to pose like a model in a bikini, which is again, probably a pain point for women. They recognize the models, that it's interviews by these models. It's giving you tips on how to pose to make your body look its best in front of a camera. So that email alone did just as well, if not better. It had higher click-through rates, higher open rates, and just as many sales as a direct 10% off or 25% off sale email. So if anything serves as living proof of, serving your email list and really providing them value and how they appreciate that, and how you can do what we call content commerce, right? Like engaging them with content around the commerce you want to sell. It works. It really does. And you get to your same goal, but in a more authentic way.
Yeah. I like that, because a lot of times people think emails are just for selling only. You know what I mean? Which is why we're like, going to be spam. Sometimes we just don't open because it's all about sales versus, and I don't think I really heard when I talk about like this way that you did in terms of like adding value through your email too. Mainly people just try to get something, versus giving something. And I think that's a much better approach, because I would have clicked on that myself and opened it and read it had I saw that something like that.
Exactly. So it's just kind of thinking about, it's like so funny because we think about email lists and we talk about them in numbers, but they're actually people. Like, whoa, shocking. They're people like you and me. And and I think the other thing is to just not give up, because it doesn't mean that someone with a quote unquote smaller email list can't make just as much money as we've represented influencers with 500,000, followers or more, right? Because they don't have, like you said, that power. Like they don't actually have a buying audience. They haven't learned how to monetize them quite yet. So be patient. Like the cool thing is with email is you own it. Like and it's a one-to-one type of platform. So let's say you're nervous about bombing that reel, right? On Instagram, you're like, oh, I don't know if people like it. You shouldn't be, but let's say you are, right? Then if an email bombs, it's one-to-one. No one will know. No one will know that it was a complete fail, right?
Yeah, that's
So you can,
true.
yeah, you can split test, you can try different things with your
Hmm.
emails, but you have to be patient. Like, don't give up, because it really is a numbers game. So
Yeah.
if you have 1,000 people and a conversion rate is quite small, if you think about it, you need to keep growing that list because of the numbers game. And while you're growing it, you can be testing all sorts of different strategies, and no
Yes.
one needs to know what works or doesn't work. You can kind of
Yes.
hide it behind the scenes, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And if it goes well, take that concept to social at that point.
Take it to social. I like that. Because I was getting ready to talk about how I know your agency adopts like an omni-channel approach.
Yes.
And for our listeners who are also those women who have side hustle, who are budding entrepreneurs, kind of explain what omni-channel means, because a lot of people don't know what omni-channel means. That's number one.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what it means. I've been in digital marketing for a while too, so I understand what it means. But a lot of people really don't understand what that means when people talk about omni-channel. So talk about a little bit on what that is and why it's important for entrepreneurs to put something like that in place and understand what it does for them.
Yeah. I mean, omni-channel marketing is another term for almost like full service marketing, or putting together all the different platforms to work for you. So leveraging them all.
Yeah.
And when I first started really in the service-based marketing area, I really focused on Facebook ads. And I quickly learned, like we talked about, you can't put your eggs in one basket. You can't put all those eggs in one basket. When iOS 14 hit and all you had was Facebook, you were not well positioned to continue growing your business. And so omni-channel really allows for you to be doing many different things on many different platforms that are all actually leveraging one another. So we're doing email marketing, we're doing website conversion rate optimization, we're doing SEO, which means that we're trying to get organic traffic on search engines, we're doing paid ads, we're doing affiliate marketing and influencer marketing, social media marketing. So we're taking all of these platforms and pulling them together. And a perfect example would be something like that blog that we talked about with the bikinis. We posted a blog for SEO. We did an email pushing it out. We also posted it on social, and then we ran paid ads to that. Like, we did everything we could possibly do to push that out by letting all the channels help one another. And it's amazing how one channel can heavily impact another channel. So that's what we mean by having an omni-channel approach. And it doesn't mean to spread yourself thin at first, especially if you're doing everything on your own. It just means when you have the time to start looking at other sources of how to grow your business, especially if it's been stuck or plateauing, very likely there's a channel that you haven't yet pulled the lever on. And that might be something you should look towards.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think a lot of people, because we're in a space where it's like, oh, organic growth is so huge. People are now in a place where I feel like don't see the value in paid ads, because a lot of them don't understand the landscape, how to create them, how to best utilize them. But let's talk about paid ads a little when it comes to a marketing strategy and why it is still a good strategy to do, because I feel like a lot of people don't look at it as everyone's so focused on just that SEO or that organic growth, when all these, like you said, all of these channels can be working together for you.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm a marketer at heart, so metaphors work really well for me. And I think it's a really good way to explain a concept. I remember a client once telling me, who ended up growing quite big in the first, from nothing to like millions of dollars, ended up being 600 Bed Baths and Beyonds, and sold his business, like, for millions of dollars in a couple of years. So, and he was smart. And he told me, Toccara, like, you can be the best person at what you do sitting at your desk all day, but if no one knows you exist, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to, marketing is a part of just the world. If you want someone to see you, you have got to invest the money in it, or else you could be the best, but who's going to find you? And the other part of that, the reason why I think people have a concept of paid ads not working, is because they don't realize it's like a doctor going into a surgery and performing a surgery with no education behind them, or a pilot trying to fly a 747 jet. Like, you look at a dashboard of an ad manager, and it's like the dashboard of a airplane. Like, how could you possibly know how to drive that thing without some education behind you? But for whatever reason, probably because of the bro marketing culture, I apologize, but that's just the truth.
It's a thing.
And even, platforms like Facebook and Instagram, making it so everything's automated and thinking you can do it without knowing what's behind you.
Yeah.
But honestly, you really do need an expert in there to at least do it. And I'm a huge advocate of grassroots marketing. I'm a huge fan of learning it on your own. But
Yeah.
until you can get to that level where you're really confident and learn and take courses, I would say, if you want to actually get the real results, you may need to either educate yourself and take the courses or hire someone to do it only when you're ready and you have that budget and it makes sense. So I think it's just a misconception, because even today we're running over 6 figures in ads and making 8x return for our clients. So with Facebook. So to say it doesn't work is not true. I think you have to just have the right agency behind you to give you the formula, because ads won't work for every business. That is absolutely true. There's certain criteria you have to meet.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad we talked about it, because like, I mean, I know I hear it all the time, and you're right. It's like rocket science trying to figure out what's the best strategy to do it. What's the target audience, what countries, different things like that. The Facebook pixel. I just learned all this stuff the other day, actually. So it's like, because now I'm like, okay, I need to start running ads. I have Etsy store, I have products, digital products and stuff like that I want to sell, along getting ready to do a course, podcast marketing course. And so it's like, okay, how do I do this? What's the best strategy to do this in terms of like digital marketing, the omni-channel experience, and paid ads is always one that I know is the best way to go. But when I talk to other people about it, they're like, oh no, you can do organic growth. I'm like, yeah, but I need to push it a little, to get a little organic growth.
Exactly.
I feel like it all helps. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it all helps. And it's honestly the best question to ask yourself first, if you were considering running paid ads, is where do my potential clients actually find me? So where do they go? So for example, we had a potential client who wanted to promote their luxury RV park, and they wanted to do for a big event that was happening in their area, because all the RV parks sell out. But they wanted to run Facebook ads. And no, that's not where people find your RV park. Actually, what happens is people who are going to that event, they're going into Google and they're searching RV parks near that event, right? So it's like throwing darts, in the dark with Facebook ads for that particular use case, versus it would make a lot more sense to be on Google. So some of the things, like, it's not for everyone. You have to really tune into, like, where are they hanging out? Where are they finding me? And that would make the most sense.
Yeah. And that's a good question to ask too. Where are they? How do they find me? Because when we think about ads, a lot of times we're just thinking about Facebook versus
it's sexy.
Google.
Yeah.
It's like, easy, because Facebook is like, hey, run $5 ads. So easy to do. We're not even thinking about, I can run Google ads. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't have that digital real estate either, websites and stuff like that. So a lot of people miss out on that. When I look at online, a lot of people miss out on that SEO traffic and stuff like that, because they don't have a website. And I'm like, you don't even have a website? You just only on social media only? It's
pretty wild. I mean, and if you have to grassroots it, I mean, girl, do it. Like, if that's like how if you're not going to start because the thought of a website is so overwhelming for you, then just start. But yes, eventually, and this is the thing I usually, when I'm, teaching courses, I'm like, when was the last time you went onto a website, an e-commerce website, and bought something that wasn't professionally photographed? Like photographed on someone's floor, like, a shirt or something, other than like an eBay or, a used kind of site. But when was the last time we went to an e-commerce site and purchased something that wasn't professionally photographed? So why do we think, as the owner of websites, that we could do that and someone's going to actually buy it? So you have to put yourself into the shoes of someone. If you think that you can do this without what is commonly accepted, and you would never buy from someone who didn't have a website or who didn't have things properly photographed, then, I mean, you have to face the reality. That is the reality, is you need to make it. And if you don't have any guidance, you don't know what to do, just look at the top websites in the world doing exactly what you want to do, and copy and paste using your own inspiration and your own content. But they've already built the roadmap for you. You just need to recreate it in your own way.
In your own way. When I talk about SEO, let's talk about SEO, because I know you have an extensive experience in SEM and SEO. What are let's define what they are. And I think you already said search engine optimization, but what are some of the misconceptions I think you find in brands that they have about these two strategies?
Yeah. I love that we are defining SEO because
Yeah.
I realize we talk jargon and I get asked so many times what SEO is when I start
Yes.
saying that. So we'll slow
Yeah.
it down. Search engine optimization, but even that sounds like a big black hole. And it
Hmm.
really is the strategy behind landing on the first page of Google's results or
Yeah.
position 0 on Google, or nowadays people also ask. It's the strategy because the saying goes, where do you go to die? The second page of Google, right? Like results. It's
I
just
heard you
no
say
one
that.
goes. Yeah. So there is a huge strategy behind that. And when we say SEM, which is search engine marketing, that is in essence the paid ads, the pay per
Yeah.
click, like Google ads, where you're actually paying to market on there. But let's focus on search engine optimization, the free
Yeah.
thing we can do ourselves. And there's many strategies to do that. And it can get very technical.
Yeah.
But what I can say to break it down in a simplified, hey, here's a few simple steps you could take, is really looking at what you're selling on your website and doing some research around that using free SEO tools if you have to at first, which would be something like Keywords Everywhere, or sometimes
Mhm.
you can get limited free access to the paid tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, or there's a lot of different other tools, Moz, and you
Mhm.
start doing keyword research. And it's a very delicate balance between these tools will give you a lot of different information, how much volume, meaning how many people are searching a certain term every month versus how difficult it is to rank for that. And when you're
Yeah.
first starting, you really want to focus on keywords that are easy to rank for because you will not be able to compete with difficult keywords. So let's say we are trying to sell a red t-shirt, right? Or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, it's going to be like a 90, or out of a scale of 100, 1 to 100, 100 being forget it, and 1 being go for it. Red t-shirt might be at that 90 or 100. But if you were to do red t-shirt and maybe get a little more detailed, like
Mhm.
cotton red t-shirt, right? Or cotton
Mhm.
short sleeve red t-shirt, and looking at what matches best, you may have an easier chance to rank for that. So this is how we build our URLs for our
Mhm.
website, meaning our links on our website, our page titles, our product descriptions, our FAQs, and you can take this over to a service-based side. So again, service page, how do we do it? So if I were to write, and you can even look at my website, which is somewhat optimized, but we're still working
Mhm.
on it. We're not going for what you might think is the best term for, let's say, email marketing agency, because an email
Mhm.
marketing agency might have the highest difficulty score, but we might have different landing pages that are more like Klaviyo email marketing agency, where the
Yeah.
competition's a lot less. But the people who are searching more niche words, right, longer keywords, are actually more likely to convert because it's speaking to their specific needs. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of strategies around this, and this is how we rank pretty much all of our clients. How we get like hundreds of thousands of organic clicks every month is through these types of strategies, and also looking at another free resource, which is Google. So if you were to
Yeah.
open an incognito window in Google and you were to type what you were, so Shaunie, like what would you type? What would be that one word to describe your service? Or
Um, Digital products.
digital products, exactly. So
Yeah.
let's say you just type in
Easiest
digital
word.
products. Yeah. So if you type it in, all of a sudden you just type in digital products, you'll see these different terms come up that are suggested. The same is true in Etsy. If you're selling on Etsy, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
all the same is true in YouTube. And then once you click it in, you're going to start seeing a lot of the people also ask. And those are the kinds of things where you might create a section in your blog with that exact title to it, which we call an
Mm.
H2 tag, and you answer it within 40 to 50 words in that first paragraph. And now you have a chance to rank for that people also ask, or right there at that 0 position on Google. So it's these types of strategies that we start to weave into blogs and different pages and collection pages, product pages, because sometimes when we're building our own website, that's usually the number one thing that small business owners miss is SEO. It really
Yeah.
is, because
Yeah.
it's actually easy when you understand it, but it's very overwhelming and very easy to look over when you're first starting. So usually we have to go back and redo all the SEO for a
Yeah.
website. So the biggest thing is to think about, how can I explain things in a way that the content is there for Google to understand what my page actually says, and the service or the
Yeah.
product that I'm offering, and what people are typing into Google so that it can get found.
Yeah. That was such good information. No,
I
it
could go
really
on and
was
on.
like, you know, because I look at myself as someone who knows a lot about SEO, but just listening here and I'm like, because when I built my website, I had to go back, just like you said, and because I didn't think about SEO right away.
Of course, no one
I
does.
didn't. And I had to go back and start doing little things because I was like, okay, I do have this blog. I start doing little things and I'm like, but you're right. If you're not, because I have some knowledge in it, but you just taught me so much just now. When you don't have any knowledge in it, it can be so overwhelming. It can be so overwhelming to think about, okay, keywords, long tail keywords, keyword research. How do I put it on my page? And I just feel like you just gave so much information in terms of like, not only what they are, but how to use them. Like real examples of like, hey, this I put it in your blog post, put in your title, put in the first paragraph, answering that question that people are searching for.
Yeah.
That was like absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I'm so happy. The one other thing I'll say too, just like one other little bonus hack, like little cherry on top of our sundae we're building right now, is I love, love, love infographics in blogs or graphics that are shareable. So for example, we have a client in the recovery space, in the alcohol addiction space. So when we were doing our SEO research around some of those top phrases, you know, alcohol addiction or drug addiction, we can't rank for those, but there's a lot of searches around alcohol addiction quotes or inspirational quotes around, you know, drug and alcohol addiction. So what do? We made more quotes, inspirational quotes than any other top page in the top 10 results of Google, because we want to see what are the top 10 results, like how many quotes do they have or what's their structure, because Google clearly favors that. So we did more. And then we, throughout the blog, and this probably sounds very familiar to anyone listening, is we put in very shareable social images with the quotes on them, with their copyright, with their name on it, right? We added what we call an alt tag, meaning a description in essence to the back name of the image itself with a quote on it. So again, with like the keyword and what we're searching for. So what happens is now all of a sudden when someone, especially a journalist writing, let's say an article for Forbes on drug addiction, and they're looking for quotes, what happens is all of a sudden our images are starting to show first on those Google search results or our website. So now we get something which is called a backlink, you know, and a backlink from a high ranking site like Forbes, for example, because they want to use our image, because our image is going to help their article. They will backlink to us and we get the benefit of them linking to us. So I'm a huge fan of infographics because journalists like to share those and are searching for them, as well as those kinds of Insta-worthy, quotable images. And that's a really great way to build SEO too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You think about infographics, you think about, that's gonna, you know, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna take up too much space or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about it in that way. That's really good.
Yeah,
like
especially if you're in the service industry. So for example, sometimes when we're writing a blog and we're quoting a statistic for, you know, for us, if another blog has already done the research and so we're quoting them and they have a graphic to go with that, of course we're going to share that graphic, that infographic, and link back to them because that was our source. So you can think of yourself again, that goes back full circle to being a value, you know, especially when you're in the service-based industry. And you can offer a blog with tons of value and content. And that is highly shareable content because it's adding value. And with Google's new updates, they want to see value on these websites. And they're looking at that for ranking purposes.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I'm going to use that. Thank you for that, Toccara. I appreciate it.
Of course.
My little tidbit.
I know. And I know you're a huge fan of Canva. So you can go right to Canva. They have all sorts of infographic templates if you don't have a design team, and you can plug it in and make it work for you. But yes, don't forget to put your copyright notice on the bottom of that. And don't forget to put it into your website with your alt tag and those keywords that you need to be in there.
I like that. I'm going to use that. Okay. All right. So that's just for me, guys.
No one else take it.
Nobody else. Let's talk about social media, because majority of people think social media is like the only place they need to market their business, the place they need to start their business, get the word out about their business, build their brand, and they don't think about anything else. And we know these platforms, like they're always constantly evolving. The algorithm is always constantly changing. We're fighting against the algorithm like crazy. So what are, like, first of all, how do you stay ahead of the curve and ensure that your strategies are effective across all the platform? And what do you think are some of the best strategies there is anyway when it comes to social media with building your
Yeah.
brand there?
Yeah. And I sympathize with everyone who's like, it is hard these days
Yeah.
to grow social media. It
It
is
really
hard.
is.
It
It
is.
really is. I feel like it's gotten harder over the years than it were even like a few years ago, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine it'll happen with every social platform, no matter what,
Yeah.
because it's limited real estate. So the
Hmm.
more people that go onto the social media platform, which by the way, they're offering for free to you,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
return to run this social platform, they have to run ads in order, it's very expensive to run a social platform.
Yeah.
So the real estate, as more people are using it, as more advertisers are getting on it, the real estate to actually run organic content becomes much smaller because
Yeah.
there's just so many more people on there. So in order to stand out, it truly is thinking about content that adds value. And I remember when I was first starting and I had people tell me, oh, you should do it as the agency and it should be cold,
Yeah.
very like very uninteresting content, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't work because people who come onto social media, we come there to get entertained or to catch up with our
Yep.
friends or family or to laugh or to get educated. So if you're not the kind of person that wants to be on camera, then I would find other people to get on camera for you, whether it's your clients or your team, but
Yeah.
people relate to people. So it's not about selling. It's almost about creating this, like we say, experiential marketing. It's about inspiring. It's about educating. And yes, of course, we can sprinkle the sales in there, and every business vertical looks different, right? E-commerce might
Yeah.
look very different, but you could still educate through doing an eyeshadow tutorial if you're selling makeup, right? Or
Yep.
how to put together an outfit with your clothes. And maybe you throw a bone to another company that your clients or your customers shop at. So if you're in the luxury space, maybe you pair it with another luxury brand, right? So
Hmm.
things like that can work really well. And also being omni-channel and using different things. So for example, we will with our influencers or even with our own
Hmm.
email marketing, we will push out our content on social media through email to try to
Yeah.
drive people from our email list to our content, which by the way, when you have your warm audience get driven to your new YouTube post or your new Instagram reel, it helps with the algorithm because those people are more likely to engage. Now, Instagram or YouTube or TikTok are seeing that there's engagement on this post. People tend to watch it longer. It's going to push it out even further. And again, I'm a huge fan of running ads, even if it's just pushing it for like the beauty of these new platforms is you can run it for $1,
Yeah.
on Instagram or two, and just
Yeah.
run it just to try to push it out a little bit to get a few more eyes on it. But it's
Mhm.
definitely a strategy where you have to think about how am I entertaining? How am I adding value? And it is a throw a spaghetti on the wall and don't overthink strategy. If you actually want to get things going, it is a little bit of a numbers game. So
Yeah.
don't get discouraged in the same way we were talking about email. Like you don't want to get discouraged. It doesn't have to be perfect. People will forget it in 5 minutes anyway,
Yeah.
like they're not, just do it. You don't need a video editor. You don't need to be Gary Vee. You don't need a huge, camera crew behind you every day. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
being authentically you and showing up and testing different things. So short versus long, looking up, you can use your SEO research to come up with ideas for your content. Of course, we love
Hmm.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
ChatGPT can tell you a lot of things of how you can produce content. You can look at other creators in your space, see what's going viral for them and create your own version of that. Make it your own
Yeah.
authentic version. Do not steal their content,
Yeah.
but you can make it your own. Like you can get ideas. You don't have to overthink this and
Yeah.
just post it and just walk
Let
away.
it go.
In a way, engage but walk away. Don't
Yeah.
overthink it. Don't remove it if it doesn't do well. Just put your content out there.
Yeah. And I think we're such a viral driven community in society now where it's like, oh, I want to put this content out. I want to see it go viral. I feel like people don't understand it. It is about being consistent, but also it's about being patient.
Yes,
Like growth happens over time. We see so many people going viral, doing this and doing that, where we think that, well, why isn't my content going viral? I should be going viral. Where it's like, it takes time to build certain things. But I feel
exactly.
like we're such in that viral mindset. Like everyone wants to go viral. And it's great when you can go viral. It really is. I feel like the lady Risa Tisa did a great thing on Twitter, on TikTok. right? She just went viral with 58 episodes, but it's also, you know, she did a lot of things before that, before she went viral. So I feel like it takes time. How do you ever sign clients who feel like my social media platform should have blown up by now? Do you get that kind of,
I think we
do you know
all
what I
think that,
mean?
right?
You get some clients that have that kind of mindset where it's like, we did all these strategies. Why hasn't it blown up now?
I know. It's so funny. And we forget exactly like you said, we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. We didn't see everything beneath the water, or we just saw the final result of like the meal, but we didn't see the kitchen where it was made. And so it's patience and perseverance and grit are probably some of those qualities. I don't know if patience is, but I would say grit, you know, and and dedication are probably qualities that every successful entrepreneur holds, you know, and has, because you don't become a sensation overnight. We didn't see everything that went into that. And so that's why I constantly say, don't give up, keep going. Like the last mile is the one that's the least crowded, because so many people have given up before that. So you have to, but also be open to investing in coaching, consulting, guidance. There's a lot of people who are, we think we have it all figured out, like running ads. We're like, oh, we can drive this 747. We can fly it and land it. Like there's just amazing. I think there was a study of men who, when their wives asked them if the plane was going down, if they could land it, and like an overwhelming majority of men truly felt they could land like a 747 jet, like on their, if it was going down. So like it's really fascinating. But the thing is that's true. It's just human behavior. Like we think of ourselves in this way. Why didn't we go viral? Why? Like, of course we could do this. We don't need an expert to tell us. But honestly, if you want someone to invest in your high ticket course or your product, why are you not doing that yourself? If you have that, I know that my business grew heavily when I invested in a team, when I invested in coaching, when I invested in education. And so it's one of those things where if it's not working out the way you want, invest in training or tools or an expert to help guide you there.
Yeah. And I think, you know what's so funny, when I started, even with the podcast, I've always been in that solo mindset where, oh, I could do it all. I can do it all. I'm good at Canva. I can do Canva. You know, I'm good at social media. I'm like, oh, I can do social media. But then I'm like, why am I not growing like I need to? You know, and now I'm at a place where I feel like, you know what? It is time to hire people out. Like I don't do certain things with podcasts. I don't edit no more. I don't do those things. So I'm like, I don't have to do it all. I really don't. You know, and when you're starting out, your budget is tight. So you try to figure out the best way that you can. But I believe in that. I'm there now, actually, Toccara, where I'm like, okay, Shaunie, it's time to, you want to see growth. You got to get people who actually know how to do it. Like I don't have to know how to do everything. And I think that's the mindset that a lot of entrepreneurs need to understand, that you don't know how to do it. You don't have to know how to do everything.
Exactly. I 100%. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I always say the best advice, or for me, this is very helpful when I think about where I want to go. And I think about who's there, who inspires me, who's that successful person in my mind.
Yeah.
And then I ask myself, especially when it's a hard decision around money, it's usually money or employees in business where you're not unsure of what to do. I always ask myself, what would this person do? And because whatever they would do is the right answer. So if they're investing in an editing company, if they're investing in a graphic team, then they've already built the blueprint for you to follow and the roadmap. And so we'd kind of be foolish to think we could get somewhere, kind of like with the unprofessional photos on an e-commerce website, right? It's the same thing. Like, why do we think that would work when the person who's done what we want to do had to do all those things as well? So usually that's the right answer. But I love to balance that with what you were saying. When you first start out, a lot of it is grassrooting. And that's very important, because you do need to understand at least enough to have a small sense of what's going on. And if you don't have the budget right away, you're going to be the video editor. You're going to be the graphic designer. You're going to be your accountant. You're going to be everything, like we are to our children until it makes sense to invest in.
Until it makes sense, especially when you're married, you have kids, you have other things, financial things to consider. So you're like, okay, YouTube University, here I come. You know, because I need some strategies. I need to know how to do this on my own. Looking forward towards the future, and digital marketing, the landscape is always changing. What emerging trends do you see actually becoming very prominent that's really going to like change the landscape of it?
Yeah. I think, depending on whether TikTok stays or not,
I know that's going to be a
I'd
huge
be,
one, right?
yeah, it'd be a huge one. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd really be shocked if it didn't. But I think things like TikTok Shop are going to really take off, just like Amazon Shop. I mean, the social selling is huge and it
It
continues
is
to grow. It's
huge.
a And we've seen it personally with our own clients. I mean, it moves. If you have a true influencer behind
Mhm.
you, those products move heavily. So anything to do with what we call UGC, user generated content, what feels very authentic and real and relatable,
Mhm.
and is used as a tool to sell something, I think that that is really going to continue to grow
Yeah.
in that social setting. And I think things that will never get old will be things like email marketing. And when we say email marketing, I don't really mention it, but for us, that always includes SMS marketing, which is
Yeah.
text based marketing. And
Mhm.
that's something that you should focus on. If you already have an email, then the next step would be to get their phone number if you haven't yet gotten it with the email. So SMS marketing done authentically in the right way. And I think things where you can create an experience for
Mhm.
your clients or your customers is going to be a really big thing too. So people just want to connect with people. We're in a post-COVID world,
Yeah.
and it's where we're really enjoying like that authentic content, that real content, or getting out and meeting people again and getting into
Yeah.
the real world. I think a lot of that is going to happen. And of course, with Google's, ever changing strategies and with AI,
Yeah.
is going to be huge. Like, I think AI is going to bring a whole other, wrench into
Yeah.
everything to figure out how to how to keep up, because creating content can be done quite quickly by people who are very determined to do
Yeah.
it. It might not be the best content, but it can be done now. So it's like forcing us to up level everything we can do and think outside the box of how can I use this AI to my advantage.
Yeah.
So I think those kinds of trends are really going to revolve around AI, social content, UGC, social
Mhm.
selling. That's kind of where I'd be focusing quite a bit of
Yeah.
looking ahead. And should there be a new social platform, because we see that where social platforms go with limited real estate, I try to get on that a little bit earlier
Yeah.
if I was struggling with the established ones, and try to get an audience there,
Yeah.
because
Any
it's,
new ones?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And when it comes to that social selling, you're so right. I tell people, I feel, I feel like TikTok is the new, like home shopping network. You know what I mean? Because when you go on TikTok, they're on live and they're doing like live selling. And it
Yes.
works for them. They got a lot of people watching. They're selling on the spot, and I'm like, this is live selling. This is the new home shopping network. This is what TikTok is. So if you can get into that space and get on live and be able to sell the way these people do,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother ball game. So I'm excited
It,
about all these different things. And like you said, AI is going to be such a big piece of our future when it comes to digital marketing. So I'm excited to see what holds. But finally, for those who are inspired by your journey, of course, and your achievements, and looking to get into the digital marketing space and maybe want to start their own firm, what advice would you give to someone looking to break into that space or the e-commerce space today?
yeah. I mean, my biggest advice, looking back and even thinking of my own son, who's, only has a year left of high school, and trying to guide him, is really educate yourself. Take a lot
Yeah.
of courses, and don't take the courses that promise you're going to be a millionaire overnight.
Mhm.
Don't take the courses that are the get rich quick courses. Take the courses from the long established gurus that are teaching you real skill sets that you can transition to other areas of digital marketing. Take an internship with an established agency, whether it's paid or not paid. Like,
Mhm.
really learn the ropes by being in an agency setting versus freelancing, which are two totally different things. You
Yeah.
will learn so much more about real marketing when you have an entire team supporting you versus trying to figure it out all on your own. And take in all the content. Be humble, work for free, work
Yeah.
for a discount, like learn, if you have friends that need help and you want to practice your skill sets, offer it, for a very low price, if not free, for in return a case study or a review. I mean, you have to take your ego out of it and be humble and have humility and say, I'm really here to learn. And I would try to learn under the best. I would honestly go to some of the biggest digital marketing agencies or the biggest digital marketing platforms and work under them. Like I would want to work for WordStream in their SEO department, or digital marketer in their, content creation. So these big guys, you are going to learn so much and have much more valuable skill sets if you put in the time and effort and get your ego out of it, because you want to make money. Like first hone in on your passion and those skill sets and develop them, get curious, never stop learning. And that's when you can start building a business on your own with confidence.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like that. This has been a really good interview, Toccara. I got to tell you, like I've learned so much. Like by far, this probably been one of the best because of all the different strategies and tactics that you give. Because I know this is what people are looking for, and they're looking for real information. Because a lot of people are giving fake information out there, like you said, get rich quick, do this, you got to make so many sales. And I feel like you gave practical information, very good advice, very good strategies and tactics that people can implement today. A lot of stuff that I know I can do. And so I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. I really do appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure, Shaunie. Thank you. For me, I definitely am drawn to tactical solutions. So I'm glad I was able to share some of those today.
Yes, we did. Definitely. All right, guys, listen, I am Shaunie Sanders. This is the Girl Take No Podcast, and I will talk to you next time.